For me, recording Saga was a completely different experience to Hellblade 1 because Hellblade 1 was a very intimate experience. I was the only character in the game, like the only character that was actually like motion captured. So yeah, being on a massive stage compared to the first one with a big team and other actors was like, yeah, it was very, very different, but I really enjoyed it. I think I had to overcome my performance anxiety quite a lot because, yeah, like in the first game I was able to hide a little bit more. Like there was not many people watching me when I was performing, whereas being on a stage with a whole cast, it's a bit more vulnerable. But because we got on so well, it was very easy in the end.
This actually was really cool for me because we didn't see this part of it, the actual like fully rendered storm and everything, for a long time down on the stage. But something that we were really proud of is that boat rig that we built matched up so well with where you actually ended up on the boat, Chris, right?
Yeah, yeah. It was insanely fun. We had a huge rig that was kind of like operated by ropes, so everyone who was on the rig would all be moving with the same kind of momentum of the sea.
It was really cool though, being like tied up on an actual boat rather than just pretending to be on a boat. So it felt very realistic.
I think there were a couple of times, before we had decided on what the build was going to be, where I'd come down to the stage and kind of see you being scooted around on a chair. I was like, this is what we're going to do, but it's going to be much more than that. Like, it was one of the first things that we shot, and I hadn't started too much longer before then. I think I'd only been here for about 6 months. And that kind of build is not something I would have ever imagined seeing on a mocap set, just because of how sensitive the cameras are, and being able to carry that kind of weight and still get the data you need is difficult. So to see it all kind of come together and not cause us really any technical issues was really cool. Yeah, it felt really special.
Yeah, that swimming scene was, I think, one of my favorite things to shoot because it was the first time that I got to use like a harness, or do you call it gyroscope, Chris?
The colloquial term for it is tuning fork.
Oh dear, I'll never remember that. But yeah, I remember you were all in with Lucky 13 and riggers and yeah, just strapping me into that harness, and I underestimated how much hard work it is to be in that harness and to pretend to swim. I kind of imagined it being really easy, but you actually have to tense like all the muscles in your body, and it's quite hard work.
This one was another one that was kind of tricky because we didn't know the exact layout of the beach as you were washing up on it. So I think that's a nice little bit where kind of what you shoot informs what you get at the end of it, because it all had to be built with what we were able to do in mind. Looks brutal.
That was quite fun because I had to like pretend to be like washed up. So I was like pretending there would be waves and like rolling from left to right. And then it kind of cuts into one of our stunt doubles, I think Lisa. She was in the harness as well, and then she did the actual washing up scene.
chapter 1 is a place called Reykjanesta on the Reykjanes Peninsula, which is the same peninsula that Reykjavik is in. And this was actually the first location we went to?
Yeah, pretty much the first location, I think.
Yeah.
It was one of the earliest locations we started building as well.
Yeah, so it was literally our first experience of Iceland, was coming out of Reykjavik airport and driving straight out here, and it was quite intense, I think, wasn't it? It was a very, like, the weather was pretty full on.
Yeah, it was a kind of a very, not quite as stormy as it is in the game, but we definitely had a sort of a blustery day to kind of experience the coast.
Yeah, and we went through a lot of iterations in terms of how we represented this. I think what we ended up with, we did quite a few resets where we were trying to kind of represent it as it was, but then struggling to kind of get it to work with the gameplay. And I think at one point we sort of reset back to try and get as close to the layout as possible, and then we were a little bit more considered about what we changed so it worked with the gameplay. Like the first initial area, you probably will recognise some of it from the real location. I don't know.
I think it matches, like, layout-wise, it kind of follows the real location, but we definitely modified the landscape and made it more rocky and more sort of dangerous looking, to kind of filter the player along the path, but also kind of set the mood for the sort of dangers of Iceland and its kind of hazards.
Yeah, so inland we've kind of amped up the lava field, which is now a lot of it's covered by grass and things. Obviously there's roads and things that come through it. When you come up to the ridge and look out over the beach in that section there, I mean, that's quite similar what you have in real life, but yeah, there's a lot you need to do to consider, like for when to guide the player and to fit in with the different narrative beats. You know, we can't let it be completely open and fully navigatable. You have to kind of channel you in certain areas, so there's various kind of tricks and things that we did to do that. And I think, as ever, the first level of any game gets an awful lot of attention, just because if you do work on that first, when you carry on doing the other levels, you realise how much you've progressed at that point, so you want to go back to the first one and rework that. And with it being the first chapter as well, it's super important that this is the thing that kind of sets the tone and sets the bar for the rest of the game. So it did feel like we worked on chapter 1 for an eternity.
I mean, another thing that stopped us from capturing a lot of the sort of area was the time we were there. There was a lot of like nesting birds and a lot of gulls and oyster catchers. So there was a lot of gulls and oyster catchers flying around at the time. So it made it very difficult to kind of get drones or other, capture elements when we're kind of being dive bombed by oyster catchers, and kind of there's lots of disruption around that we're trying to avoid and not sort of disturb them too much at the same time.
In particular, they took a disliking to Jim Waters, one of our environmentalists.
So Reykjanesta was one of the first areas that we worked on. It's one of the first places where we started to really get into the photogrammetry and using that as a test bed. So the good thing about this area as well, there's a lot of kind of reusable rock structures that we used as a test for doing photogrammetry, and then seeing if we could, how many areas that we could populate with a very few amount of meshes.
You should not have come here, child. Your hopes were always doomed to fail. All this way, just to die among strangers.
Why did you come back?
Did you think you had left behind. I am always here.
I won't listen to you.
Her voice thought she'd left it in the past. Her father. He clouds her mind with fear, but she won't stop. Stronger forces drive her on.
Listen, she needs you. She needs you to go to her quickly. She's dying.
So this is the part where Senua has reached Iceland. She's a little bit sort of undercover, and she needs to blend in. So she's part of the slaves at this point. So for this costume, we wanted her to feel like that. So she's not got a warrior costume at this point.
Yeah.
She's
No face paint, no warrior costume.
broken down, desperate. Has very little, and the costume reflects that. So she's got a torn, piece of an old tunic. Still got some of the other pieces, like the trousers and the shoes are still there, but the main part of the costume's ripped up and torn.
Well, I do remember because the thing is, we'd already made the main costume, and with that weaving, do you remember? We were like, this could be at the beginning. So we were, let's make the tunic out of the weaving.
That's true.
And then, I mean, this piece evolved though, didn't it? So once we'd made it, of course had to get adapted because she's in water. So it was. But I mean, this sort of the shoulder bits where you've got that fur over the top. Do you remember we did little lines of the yarn?
Yes.
And it was so beautiful because it's that nettle yarn, and jute. It's really cool.
Well, it needs to feel recognisable.
Yeah.
As Senua, but it's a different version of her.
Yeah.
We had that.
It was such a good starting point, though. As in, even though we'd already done the main costume, that was so beautiful to go back to that
It would
material.
reverse engineer
exactly.
it.
Go back to that
Strip
material.
it all the way down.
Yeah,
back to
and then when she gets to shore, she's like, right, okay, I'm gonna make up my new outfit from this. So it sort of made loads more sense, I think.
Yeah. And she's not got the headband either at this point.
Yeah.
This is where she's just got a band just a piece of cloth.
I remember something like this in the first game.
Yeah.
And I remember us recording something that was with just the band. And
and
it's
this
really good.
and this pelt is the pelt that she's got on is it's to evoke that same feeling of Senua from Hellblade 1. But it's an old tattered version of it.
Yeah.
I think originally we wanted this costume to be a dress as well, right?
That's true.
And then we were this is probably not very comfortable for climbing and swimming.
I think the swimming, if there's
swimming, crawling.
Exactly. We'd maybe have to make some bloomers.
Yeah. So we cut that down.
Yeah.
Didn't we? We
makes sense.
chopped it in, at the bottom.
Yeah.
And made it more of a longer. Still feels like it's got that dress element, but it's working with trousers as well.
Yeah.
And you see on her arms as well, the sort of where she's been bound with the rope. So it's all tying into the slave background where she's been bound up on boat. Because they would have manhandled people onto boats.
Yeah.
You're not going willingly. There's a bit of a struggle there. Just getting all like grime and damage into Senua.
Why didn't you stop him so soon? Too weak.
Let her die.
He is right.
They were survivors. I need to help the other slaves.
You let her die. listen. Because now she doesn't know what to do. You don't know where to go. Your plan is in pieces.
She is lost.
You're lost. The enslaver, the master is gone.
I have to help them.
Thought you could stop this, but you had lost your mark. The sea tore him away, just like your hopes.
You don't need to listen to him. You know this now. Listen to us. You know better. I'm the survivor. He is trying
You
to trick
want to save them. They're already dead.
You're a liar.
The lost ones.
Find a way out.
Get to the sea.
Find your way back to the sea. That is where they need your help.
But you can never escape.
She will never escape. Get out of here. Find a way out of here.
You are lost too.
She must find a way out.
How can the lost find anyone?
Listen, don't listen.
You failed them.
Don't listen to him.
They are dead, like your mother.
Shut up! Stop it!
Can't you hear them, Senua? Can't you hear their screams?
I can hear them.
So yeah, you'd notice during a lot of the puzzle sections of the game, you see these kind of churning, repeated patterns, what we sort of internally called our kind of fractal effects. And this was sort of born out of a conversation that we had with some of our kind of lived experience collaborators, of where they were discussing kind of being so focused on kind of repeating patterns and objects within their worlds seeming to just be repeating themselves, and we sort of came up with this notion of the fractals being kind of part of Senua's internal mind, kind of blocking her, but also calling for her attention. And it was, an interesting motif that we used throughout the game to sort of get across how Senua was sort of seeing the world and feeling about sort of certain things that she knew she had to solve.
You couldn't save them, but you can save the survivors. Don't listen to the dead, just move onwards. Find the survivors. What have you done? Stop.
On the beach, we had this section where you kind of see these shadowy kind of representations of the kind of people that are drowned in the shipwreck, and this is a way of kind of Senua kind of showing her guilt. She believes it's kind of her fault that she wasn't able to save these people, and they may have been people that she persuaded to come on this quest with her to sort of go over to Iceland to start saving the slaves that have been taken across. And it's, that's a very visual way of showing kind of Senua's internal suffering, blaming herself for the lives that have been lost during this journey.
Did you come here to die?
Well, this was the first battle we built, but it was very different. Originally, you were just like lost in like an infinite mist, and things were coming to you. But fairly late in development, we completely redid this battle to make it more of a explicit tutorial for the new combat mechanics. We needed to explain how Senua got a sword back, and we wanted to introduce the enemies in a way that they would organically teach you the basics of combat. So each of the enemies you fight here, they have a very, very like bespoke behavior that's supposed to just encourage you to kind of like learn the controls by this experimentation. So the first guy you find, he's gonna always wait for you to do the first attack, and then he's just gonna do a bit of blocking and barely any counter attacks. So he's a bit of like a punching bag for you to just learn to use the basics of the light and heavy attacks. So it's also like a nice showcase of the the more cinematic treatment, the more gruesome kills. We did a lot of work on having these events trigger in a way that felt seamless. So as you're doing a certain interaction in the world, you just blend naturally into something else. And we wanted to tell the story of the slavers trying to recapture the slaves that had escaped after the boats crashed into the coast. Yeah, lots of little touches on their behavior to make sure that each enemy introduces like a new move to keep them fresh. These were starting to experiment with some of the off-screen events that can trigger anywhere in a space rather than the more scripted ones. We introduced things like the button mash mechanic, using the heavy attack to break the block, to be able to get hits in, things like that. We had some very, very gruesome execution animations that we only trigger here, and we only allow once. But they were so cool, but also the repetition really stood out. So almost all of the enemies you kill here have like a unique unique animation depending on like the direction of the attack and stuff like that.
It is you who bring the darkness here, you can win this, yes! He's a monster. Someone needs you. Listen, quicker. The boat. There are many souls in there. Quick.
I remember when we were getting closer to the upturned boat, and that was the time I kind of recently joined Ninja, and we finished the combat, and I could hear someone knocking on something, and I was like, what is this coming out of my ear? And then I realized like there's a kind of like an upturned boat at the front, and you go under it and you go inside. That place was so cool from the audio perspective, because like I was surprised by it, but I'm curious to know like where was it coming from.
So the original idea of the upturned boat, it come from one of the people that collaborated with us that had lived experience, and it's something that happened to him. Actually, he was at home and he started hearing someone knocking on the door. Please open me, like something is going to happen to that person. And he tells to himself, I know this is not happening, I'm not going to open. But the thing keep going, boom, 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 until it was unbearable. And then he opens that door, very similar to the upturned boat when you go under. And then there was nothing, and his voices were like mocking him. And I think that sparked this section, which basically you finish that combat, as you said, and as you approach, you hear all these people asking for help. Please help us, which is carrying that guilt. Like this whole section is building on that guilt that she's been feeling because she didn't save, she failed all the time.
But so,
she feel it.
She feel that she failed, but it wasn't up to her.
Absolutely. So the moment that she enters and it's empty, is the mocking bit, like
yeah, I remember that. Yeah. And there is the part that Senua gets stuck. I never understood. Is the body comes alive and is holding her leg, or just her leg getting stuck on the body?
Well, for her it's real that that body grabbed her, like, and so that's what we care about, and that's the feeling we are coming through with audio and all the visuals and the water and the feeling of getting drowned. I think it's a good example of what is within, it goes out, and you project your reality outside, and that is something that we do a lot overall in the game. It's a very powerful moment.
The slavers were the first enemy we built in development, so like all things, towards the end of the development we looked at it and we need to basically redo them from scratch to make sure the animation quality is up to the same level of everything else we did afterwards, where we have obviously learned a lot more about how to do motion capture and refine animation. So these guys were also rebuilt in a very short time towards the end. They're also the only enemies in the game that have a human face that you can see. So we had to do enough faces so you would never see the same one twice in a row. So I think you fight 5 guys here, so they all have a unique face and a unique voice as well for all their combat arcs and things like that.
The other thing that I remember we added towards the end was like whenever the enemy would die, you added those transitions that she's tired and you would rotate the camera right towards.
Wow, that took a really long time to get right. Every time you do a finisher kill on any of the enemies, we needed to basically blend the camera and rotate Senua with a different animation towards where the player should go next. Otherwise, people got a bit confused because the level is very similar looking, so it was easy to get lost.
No! Get away from
Yeah, this is the first time I'm meeting Thorgester. What a lovely meeting.
I remember your various stages of disbelief with that as well, Chris. Like, we'd shoot it and then you come back and it would, a layer of work had been added. You're like, oh, that's really cool. And then when you saw the final thing, I think your exact words to me were, I knew you were going to do something awesome, but that was like even more than I expected. Yeah.
Absolutely. A kind of personal dream of mine to perform in a video game, and getting to perform on one where it's my likeness and such a talented team behind the video game itself it was just a mind-blowing experience to watch them layer their work on top of the work that we'd done, and I at every stage thought it was a final product, and yet Ninja Theory told me there was more to come, and I just couldn't believe how amazing it all turned out in the end. Technology used as well to keep the facial data so, like, it kind of propels the fight for me, that when you see a real fight, there's so many elements of it that allow you to immerse yourself in it, and one of those is, obviously emotional reactions on the face, and the fidelity that this has been done with. Even when you see Mel's face just from the side, she's still wrought with emotion, and it really helps drive the entire story of the film.
Oh man, we recorded a lot of shouting. I mean, for every combat move, it was like custom shouting and grunting that was recorded, so I can't put a number on it, but it was a lot.
I think there's a library somewhere of about 200 different types of shouts. Maybe only
how many
20.
can you do?
Yeah, maybe only 20 got used. It was like,
at some point I was like running out of ideas. I was like, I think I've done like every shout that I could think of. Like, I really have no idea anymore.
How many different ways are there to scream? You guys have found them all. Like, for context, on the like actual stage side, you guys spent almost like 6 months straight. If you put it all day to day, it would take about 6 months to get through everything that we shot just on the stage. So all the stuff that you did in VO and for pickups, that's all on top of that.
I want you. Stop! Stay down! No! What it is then?
You could kill him if you wanted to. Kill him. Don't be a coward. You have to find your way. Doing something you have to move very quickly. You ready to fight? Grab it!
It's quite funny to see us fighting so seriously because we are so goofy on stage. It's like the complete opposite.
You kind of have to be. It'd be a little too dark otherwise, right?
but I mean, with that being said, it was only a pleasure to be able to work with such talented actors alongside me that we could be goofy in between shots, but as soon as we started rolling, the atmosphere changed to what we needed it to be for that particular scene, and it was just so seamless, and it really helped me just kind of bounce off that energy.
Yeah, I think everyone got on so well. Like, the entire cast, we just had such a fun time together.
I also really loved the journey between our two characters, Mel, where we got to explore that kind of softening of a very kind of enemy relationship at the start.
Yeah.
And yeah, getting to explore that with you was amazing.
All the like tech that you wear kind of gives you a little centering like kind of bubble as well. Like you mentioned the lights and stuff, but I find also like just having the suit on and the desks are raised up. Kind of helps too.
Yeah, I love having the lights on the helmet. Like I always know when they switch on, it's like Senua time.
Do you guys go through any specific ritual before the shooting starts? I don't know, listening to music or something that, gets you focused?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I had a very dedicated playlist throughout the entire shoot of quite a large range, but mainly kind of metal music to help me sort of get into this mind frame. And I mean, for me as well, all of these characters, even if they're not necessarily involved in hardship during this story, the life that they had to lead was just so much harder and so much more grueling. Just your day to day of being in Iceland at this particular time period would have been a fight for survival every single second. So to get yourself into that kind of mindset of hardship was really useful for me.
Yeah, I had a specific soundtrack that I kept listening to before, like a lot of the takes. Obviously, it depends which scene we're shooting, but it was actually from Hellblade 1, which is the poem of Shadow. So that always gets me really in the mood.
Oh yeah, I listen to a lot of Heilung as well, yeah.
Heilung, Hellblade 1 soundtracks. Yeah.
The sign, what does it mean?
That sign. What is it?
You need to understand. You need to understand.
Answer!
It is my father's sigil.
His father.
Your father.
The gold thief.
Monster.
He's here.
Look at him.
No.
The shadow.
But this place is his. The people here are weak. They would not survive without his help.
You have
like you.
Does she?
Enough!
He's wounded. He won't try anything. You have to keep your eyes on
him. We should have thrown you overboard. I wish you had drowned like the others. Just wait till I get free. You seriously think you will survive here? You don't know this place.
He is evil. He knows this place. She shouldn't trust him. So quiet.
No further. Something's wrong.
What happened to him? It smells of death. He doesn't want
The settlement has fallen to the Driga.
Oiga.
There is nothing but death beyond its gates.
I don't want to see what's in there. Did you hear it? Did you hear it? Don't listen. Someone is suffering. Help me. You need to go inside. You need to help them. Someone needs your help.
Everyone is dead in there. Everyone.
Help us.
Do you want to join them?
You came here to help.
Let's go.
Listen to yourself. What is beyond there is too dark.
We are leaving. Now.
Don't give me orders, slaver. We'll find another way in.
In contrast to chapter 1, chapter 2, which is set in a place called Kreisvik, is a lot more open. We wanted tonally to be very different. So obviously the time of day, you've got larger vistas and larger views. And I think this is a really good example of some of the drone-based photogrammetry for the larger scale structures that we did. So all of the background mountains and hills were all captured by either, I think, Andy, you did some of these ones, didn't you?
Some.
And Bav did some, and our guide and on-location capture expert, Chris Lund, went and did some of those for us when we were unable to get out to Iceland as well. So this is a really good example of how we've taken elements of that. We've kind of remixed it a little bit as well to give you a sense of the view that's beyond this location. And I think it really helps, again, by if you take the captures from the actual area, like they will always work together because they're from the same biome and the same location.
I think this is the nice thing about the photogrammetry process, is that depending on distance you see it from, but we can capture giant, hillsides almost of area, or we can process the smallest of tiny objects. But the process is the same. We capture it at the scale we capture it at, and then we can sort of convert it into a game asset.
In reality, I don't think you would really want to live here because it absolutely reeked.
It was pretty sulphurous there.
Yeah. I think I might have retched a few times. You get a big lungful of it when the wind changes. It's not nice. So all of this is like volcanic mud pits all around here, which...
if you've ever overboiled an egg, I left my house for 10 minutes and forgot I had an egg on the boil and come back and the thing was smouldering black, sulphurous, disgusting stench. And this place was at least 10 times worse than that.
Is it my life you're trying to save?
He is scared. Why? Why is he scared? He knows what they're...
Why they built a settlement there,
We're not going to question that. But I mean, in terms of the atmosphere that it gives you, there's some really cool moments within this level where we're using the steam, and you've got the bubbling mud, and you've got the sound of the water and things like that, which really sort of helps. Andy and Ruds, so you both worked on a lot on the houses. I know there was a huge amount of process that went into the realisation of those. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we were well researched, I feel. We looked at all sorts of documentation. Our writer, Lara, she would send us documents on sort of farm life, animal husbandry, that sort of stuff. Really quite dry reads, unfortunately. But we really dug deep into sort of how someone would have built a turf house, a traditional Icelandic turf house in the sort of 9th, 10th century. If you go on places like YouTube, I recommend it. There's some great videos on there. You can see people sort of, by their own description, they'll slice turf up like bits of meat and create these sort of slabs of it, and the layering up of the rocks and the sort of the hard core of rock in the centre that they'll sort of tip into these sort of boundary walls. It's interesting stuff if you're a bit of an environment geek like us. But yeah, we really wanted to make these places feel tangible, not just let's just put up a couple of polygonal walls, throw some junk on them and just have this sort of like wafer-thing structure. These things have depth and weight. They're solid structures. That was really important to us, that the player might not notice this as they run past, but there's a lot of attention and focus on those being a believable space.
And when we were out in Iceland, we also visited a couple of museums and sort of that had made their own faithful recreations of these processes and built these mud walls and grass roofs and everything else. So then we looked at sort of scanning or kind of capturing some of these, but situationally it wasn't sort of ideal. There's a lot of interior space, there's a lot of dark areas and beams and all stuff we wanted to kind of try and recreate. So what we ended up doing is sort of taking a lot of reference photos, capturing smaller elements that we could, and then we used sort of we came once back in the studio. We used procedural techniques using Houdini to recreate things like walls and how the layout of them was built. So we took the sort of patternation and the ways of building them and procedurally recreated that in Houdini. So like layering of bricks and how the roof was layered on top of the beams, and even things like scattering grass on the roofs, having tools within Unreal to angle the grass and have it all sloping off in the right directions and stuff like that along them lines. So we could then kind of build these structures in a very kind of efficient manner and have variations between them.
Yeah, they were quite the product of sort of a few different techniques. I think your wall sort of procedural work, like some sort of the voxelized stuff you did for the roofs as well, and then obviously you got the UE foliage tools and that, and then we've got a mix of photogrammetry going in here. It's kind of like art imitating life in a way, because when you think about the sort of different materials they would resource in Iceland to build these turf houses, they'd import wood, they'd use driftwood, and in many ways of sort of scratching around different artists to use their different sort of procedural elements or photogrammetry elements and sort of cobble together our own sort of turf houses. I don't think any one in particular is the same either. They're all quite unique structures. It's similar looking because it'd be similar building technique, right? But they're all quite unique.
And I think that's what gives it character. Like, I think we tried to theme each building, give it a little bit of a story going on. That's, you know, important in creating our levels. Is like, as you walk around, you get little snippets of what might have happened there. And
yeah, environmental storytelling is kind of underrated, I think, sometimes. But I know when I'm dressing, you've always got a narrative in your head, haven't you? You know, in terms of making sense of where things are placed. And I think then subconsciously the player kind of absorbs that because they don't question it. So if it feels right, then the immersion stays there.
Face it. Focus. You found the first part, yes. 2 more to go. 2 more. Only 2.
This place will worm its way into your mind. It will suck you back into the past and hold you there.
She's getting closer. Yes, she can feel it. You found another part. 1 more to go. 1 more second.
I warn you. You are back there now. In the worst time of your life.
Don't stop here. Move on. Look away. Look away. You did this, and why? it. Look closer.
You need to find another angle.
She needs to find another angle. Not like this.
No.
Find another angle.
Hold your breath.
The air smells thick with disease.
Stench of it.
She can't forget. You can never forget. That memory lurks. If you face it, the past will free you. Yes, getting closer. She can feel it. Focus. Go through it to the other side. Focus.
You know what's coming.
You have come so far.
This is the hardest part.
What are you doing?
Return to the gate.
Use the Senua.
You think you understand. You will never understand.
Where are we now?
Where are you?
Here, Senua is remembering the house she grew up in, the place where her mother lived. Now, her mother, Galina, was a healer, a wise woman, but someone who shared something in common with Senua in that they both could see beyond the veil, as Galina puts it, i.e., they both have experiences of psychosis. So that was always a point in common between them, and Galina was really the only person in Senua's life who've ever really kind of truly understood those experiences. So she has a really strong link with her mother, and going to this village, this settlement, reminds her so strongly of home, because the way the Droiga have destroyed this settlement is so similar to the way the Viking raiders destroyed their village, that it really throws Senua back into this connection with her mother and a memory of everything that she's lost. And then she finds her mirror here, which gives her that little extra advantage in combat, the ability to focus on the enemies and to see them more clearly.
Combat focus is the only sort of like new mechanic that we have in the game that we give to the player, and this fight is supposed to be like a tutorial of that. So it's like a throwback to the mirror in Hellblade 1, and we introduce a new enemy type that actually forces you to use the mechanic in order to progress. And we have the Furies, the classic, hey, use focus, hint.
And the nightmares were the variation of the enemies you come across in the chapter.
Yeah, well, they're based on the slaver enemies, but we gave them some new attack animations to just make them feel a bit more unique. But they share all the hit reactions on the core animation set. Yeah, the VFX team did a great job making these guys look very unique, but also very satisfying to hit. You can see the shards of glass sort of like expand outwards from your strike direction and then get sucked back into the body. And then when you explode them using focus, that's also like very, very satisfying. I think the audio as well is very, very crunchy and very, very well done.
This place.
She drowns in the past. All that she lost tearing at her with dead hands and eyes of fire. Her village, just cinders now. The past is never past.
Simba.
Did you think you could escape your past, Senua? You got away.
No.
You thought you left it behind in hell.
Dillian, you're Dillian. You're lovely, Dillian. Him.
But you will never be free of this.
His pain.
His suffering.
However far you go, it will hold you forever in darkness.
It's the only way. Take your darkness with you. It's yours. Be in control of it.
You will never leave your past behind. It binds you here.
You'll drown in the memory of him.
Hellblade.
She will be lost in grief forever.
You've seen this one, right? You've seen this one.
I think so. Main costume.
Main costume. This has got a big story.
So good. It's so good.
This has got a big story.
I mean, Senua's been busy making her outfit.
She's been, yeah. And here we have
From the shipwreck, it's like...
Yeah, we have the headband as well.
I know,
and this is the way we have the headpiece. Cause so it's like keeping that familiarity with Senua.
Yeah, yeah.
From the first game, but making it like a more of a functional... it's just made for function, basically.
Yeah. Keep her hair
It's
out.
not like she's trying to be a warrior or anything at this point. It's just a functional, keeping that hair away from face.
Yeah.
And also helps us handle the hairline better in
Yes, I mean it looks cool. But it is still in sync with number one, you know. So yeah.
And she's got, you can't really see it on here until you get close in cutscenes, but she's got all like the Pictish symbology on the side
On
of
the
it
sides,
as well.
yeah,
Do you
yeah.
remember we sort of
Well, you
was burning it or carving it?
You did.
Did I burn it?
Yeah, it was so good.
I was doing some burning.
You did burn the symbols in the front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the Triskel.
Yeah.
The Triskel. Yeah. So we burn that in, but on the sides it's got loads of other Pict symbols in there as well. And that was a nightmare to make. You know, the stitches on the. Do you remember when you did all these stitches on the shoulders? And I was like, "These look so cool, Jess."
But how do you make it?
This is going to be a nightmare.
Yeah, because it's like not a figure of eight. I can't remember, but
it's so difficult.
Yeah. It's so good.
And you had to draw me a diagram.
Yeah, but that was on the warrior outfit. That wasn't on this one. It was on the warrior costume. So it was on the one that we did for the trailer. So it's not on here. So do you remember? Because you had, took you so long to get that.
I think I just did it. Yeah.
So these ones, they're just straight stitches we did.
Yeah.
We just did that sort of like overlap.
I bet even that was a nightmare.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Yeah.
But it adds to
More
it.
stitches.
Yeah. No, it really adds to it.
It looks amazing.
You see them in the silhouette.
Yeah.
You can see that it's got real stitches rather than like baked in.
Do you remember the debate where the headpiece should sit? Like we were like moving it by millimeters to find like the correct position. It's like, should it be just
hairline.
above the eyebrows?
Yeah.
Midway?
Really?
Should we show a bit of hairline? No hairline? Like just kept moving it like up and down.
So good.
Monsters that climb out from under the bed. Some shadows can't just be dispelled with light. Some shadows don't want to scare you. They want your blood, your flesh, your life. But the voices are calling.
They're calling. Something is drawing you.
Keep moving towards it.
The glow of the light.
Go quietly.
Slowly. Il Toiga.
What does that mean?
What does that mean?
It's terrifying.
So beautiful.
You can't sense the evil here.
Yeah, but this is part of a ritual. What Senna was approaching. So yeah, this is a cannibalistic camp performing a ritual to summon Iltaga. And here we see, the first one. There's the victim. Yeah, but when we were trying to find the look and feel for these guys, yeah, first we've got that ritual, and then we were looking at how they just like caked themselves in the geysers, the mud that you see in the geysers, and painted themselves in it with blood and that stuff, that mud. So that was first thing, but we couldn't emulate that in CG. We found it very, very difficult to just sculpt that stuff. So we ended up taking one of the ninjas, Jim, up to a scanning chute and with Gab, and we covered him in real clay.
In clay, rope, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, branches and all that.
An interesting thing is that clay was quite cold, which I hadn't factored in. So when we were putting it onto Jim, it was absolutely freezing. And he stormed. He just went on like a trooper. But yeah, I never considered that it would be so cold, and it was very thick, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I got an assortment of tree branches and sort of like bines and things like this, which I'd found in a woodland near my house, and we wrapped him in that stuff and scanned him. Oh, and we put do you remember the black ink?
Yeah, we put the black ink for the textures and all.
In his mouth. Do you remember in his teeth?
Yeah.
What was that? Do you remember what that? It wasn't ink, was it? It was like a food colouring, maybe. Can't remember.
I think with Jazz had something like for makeup or something like that.
That's correct. Yes. Yeah. It was the Snazaroo. It's called Snazaroo. You just dilute it with water, and that was in his mouth, so it went into all the little crevices in his teeth. I mean, he deserved a medal for what we did to him that day. But yeah, ultimately we scanned it, and then put it into game.
He had some variations as well, right? That cover.
Yeah, there's the fire breather version, which came a little bit later.
However dark it seemed.
But what we wanted to do with that is like make him sort of a wolf.
I always found a ray of light.
A wolf in feel. So he's got this like long hair.
The wolf skull, the fur. Yeah.
You did the wolf skull, didn't you?
Yeah, the fur and all that.
Yeah. And then that would kind of just. And as he blew the fire, it felt like it was coming out of the skull, which was really cool.
But I knew
as part of the ritual.
Yeah, we used Jim as a base for the other ones as well, right? Even for the treatment that we get from the scan. And then we use on the other ones to have the same unifying aspect on all of them.
That's true. Yeah, because that clay, sometimes we did like a thick version and then we took it off and let it dry and crack, and then we did a thinner version. So there's like multiple shoots. I don't know how many scans we did, maybe 4?
Yeah.
In total?
Yeah, 4 operations on.
Full body? Yeah. I mean, part of the drog as well is like when she's approaching the camp here that something not great is happening over there. And it just builds that tension, seeing this bit now where they're just taking some of the slaves to be killed.
You have lost
is really tense.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And the whole ambience of it with Highland as well, with throat singing, and just adds to this lurking menace.
Look what they do to those who fight. You see you, they will destroy you limb from limb. Don't let them see you yet, it's not time. You have to get out of here. It's not too late to turn back. You can always turn back.
So, what we wanted to achieve beyond the music, it was kind of a ritualistic scenario that feels very tactile, like feels that is happening. In the middle of the arena, there is this chanting with this drum that actually is driving a lot. The tension is driving the VFX, and it's keeping that heartbeat of the ritual that gets bigger and bigger. So I think to achieve that to the maximum immersion possible, what I wanted with the music is to support that beat, to support that brutality and raw of this ritual made by these druggers, which are these characters that are kind of feral and unhinged in a way, right? And they are cannibals. And you want to feel all that in the screams, in the choreography of the... And I think it's coming through. And it feels very immersive also because it's coming through the acoustics of the space. Like we use Triton, which is it's a technology that allows us to create... I don't want to get complicated on this, but basically, whatever sound happens inside of Triton, it will sound inside the real acoustic. It will sound acoustically real or as close as possible. And I think feeling the music in that kind of stone quarry that is carved and rebounding, and the main priest, which is Ren. And if you guys are interested, you can find him in YouTube. Ren Van Terul, I think it's called. And he's this throat singer. He's incredible. And hearing his voice resonating in the space, it makes it feel so powerful. And being 3D, the whole music is 3D. So as you rotate and you move, the music moves with you, and you get closer to the drum, you get farther to the drum, so you feel you are closer to the shaman, and it brings you that dynamism, and it keeps it fresh. If the music was static and flat, I think the experience will not be the same. If the music was not living in the space, the experience will not be the same. If the chantings were not done by people that know how to use so well her body to so physical, it will not be the same. So I think every element of the audio, you amplify that idea of this is a ritual made by cannibals that is raw.
Yeah, for me, like when I was playing that section, the whole thing felt like an orchestra. Like there was the music, of course, coming in with the throat singing. Then there was the sound of the swords clashing with your enemy, the enemy screaming in the air. You know, everything felt like an orchestra for me. You know, when I played it and when I was putting the headphones.
I think that's a very good way of describing it. It's a very nice dance, right, between a lot of elements. Yeah,
but this fight changed layout multiple times. Originally, there was like a big stone pillar in the middle, and you would just go into the ritual and interrupt it, and then we had to figure out how to make the AI work with like a big obstacle in the middle, and that caused a lot of problems. So we ended up simplifying. But here's the thing where you see all of the different combat systems really come together for the first time, because you have Senua, you have different enemy types, and then you have people in the background, and all the events that are driven by the combat director system in a way that you haven't seen before in the other two fights, right? So this is where you get to experience, I think, the combat director in its full cinematic glory for the first time. So we did a lot of different little events and interrupts and different kills to get all those transitions looking nicely and to have a big library of things. So if you play the fight twice, you might not see the exact same events play in the exact same way. So this was our first big test for the combat director vision that we have for the game.
You want to talk about the secret that we put on the axe drawer? Like if you would have put the focus mode, you would have, like throw back the axe. You would have catch it in the air and just throw it.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's actually in the game. It's kind of like a trick that if you're good enough, you can learn.
Someone find out, because I remember
they posted on the Twitter. The other thing I think which is really interesting was this is the first time you've seen the fire breather, and a lot of people had difficulty to dodge the attacks.
Yeah.
And I remember Ben, our combat director, would always say, roll left, roll to the left. It's just
well, I think it's tricky because it's an enemy that sort of like asks you to dodge in the right direction. So it's the first enemy that tests that. So there are some right answers and wrong answers, right? If he does the long speed, you're supposed to dodge left or right, but if he does kind of like the close range, you're supposed to dodge back. And we went through a lot of like iteration on the size of the hitboxes and the timing, but fire is kind of like hard to read because it has like a very fluid shape. It doesn't have like a Well, I think we're happy where we ended up. I think it's fine to have some enemies that feel a bit trickier than others, and hopefully, as you fight them multiple times throughout the game, you'll learn, the right way to respond to those attacks.
Yeah, we had some discussion about, like, a lot between me and Juan about how we can telegraph better attacks and stuff to make it more understandable, and there was always this fight of find this middle ground between cinematic, obviously, and satisfying, and also a bit game design friendly, so it gives you some information to understand what you have to do, and obviously it's super hard to find.
It's a tricky balance because we didn't want to be too gamey.
Yeah.
We want to keep you immersed, and also our fights happen most of the time in like very low visibility conditions. Lots of fog in the dark, very dramatic contrast lighting.
It's hellblade.
So enemies in general are hard to read, and they're fast, right? They don't have super long wind-ups. So it was always tricky to try to telegraph those things to the player.
And at the end of this arena, like, you would see that priest, and priest used to be boss,
This character used to be like a boss that you would fight towards the end, and we did a shoot for him, and we started putting together moves. Ultimately, it was just like too much. Like, we're already introducing like 4 new enemies through this fight. That's a lot for the player to take in. So we ended up taking the priest and sort of like breaking him into smaller movesets that then became all the different rocks or a few of them that you see here.
We were lucky. Come on.
It all just stopped.
Yeah, it's daybreak. She'll have to hide from the light now. Or she will hunt us. Find our trail as soon as he can. You're not safe now. Let's go.
So I remember this obviously had to be a spectacle, but we wanted to save our reveal of Iltoga for later. So we did everything we could on this scene to sell the moment with effects and audio. So really explicitly linking Iltoga here to the geothermal activity that inspired her.
Why were you bound to that pole?
So the cracking of the ground and the explosions, these could be a giant, or they could be, a geothermal explosion. And that's really Iltoga. In a nutshell, she's the forces of nature personified, a threat that you can't explain and can't understand until you give it this name and this presence. I think our depiction of the giants, they come from this place of attributing natural forces to a persona, but we also drew from Norse sources to come up with this. If you look at the giants, the Jotun in Norse mythology, they're not all bad and they're not all good, and they don't all look a certain way. They're actually not even all giant. They are just a different group of strong creatures that live side by side with the gods. Sometimes even, marry them, and they can take all sorts of different shapes. So we thought, well, that we're basically unlimited in our depiction of them. So what suits the story best? And because we've got this theme of how people attribute,
I have the slave master tied down there.
I don't know how to say this, people's beliefs can change their perceptions. So we wanted to harness that theme for the giants, show how they represent fear of the natural world, fear at forces that you can't control.
You know it?
And like you were saying, when you get that creature and you see it, it's unexpected for it to be so complex. In her mind, you just think it's going to kill you, but she's got so much behind her backstory. And when you see that, you kind of feel really sorry for her as well, on what's happened to her. And that's unexpected, because, you know, in other media, you see that creature, it's just try and kill you for whatever reason. But in here, we've got more of a background to it.
What a terrible thing this is. The Drago were always savage. This is worse than I ever thought possible.
Do you want to talk a bit about that, the one camera rule that you mentioned, and sort of where that came from and the reasons behind it?
Yeah, that goes all the way back to Hellblade, the original. That was a one-shot game, and we wanted to keep that all the way through. The idea is that the camera and the player is supposed to feel like some sort of entity in Senua's life. It could be a third Fury or something else. You know, it's just supposed to make the game feel very personal to Senua. The camera is always supposed to feel like part of her psyche, and it just makes for a more seamless experience. Like, you've got cuts in, it becomes more of a movie, and this is supposed to be something a little different. Other films do it, like 1917.
Yeah, they only had 7 cuts or something like that.
Yeah, and they're pretty well hidden, I think, if I remember right. And there's other films that do it, and we were very inspired by films like that, and just really wanted to carry that through to all of Senua's games. So this is one of our transitionary cutscenes, which we've used throughout Hellblade 2 to move from one area to another seamlessly, to sort of keep the narrative going without any cuts and keep our one-shot camera rule going. So we need to move from, well, this will be the end of Chapter 2, and we're going to move into Chapter 3, and we need to get rid of all of Chapter 2's assets and this environment that we've just been playing in, and we need to load in all of Chapter 3's assets. So we've got a few of these in the game, but this one in particular, we are just panning up into the clouds, getting the environment and characters out of shot. And now we are in that whiteout, we're getting rid of all the old stuff and bringing in all the new stuff. We're just going to zoom in with this fly cam, and we're going to find Senua and her friends again.
So it's basically a sneaky way to hide when you're loading stuff in.
Yes, absolutely. But also sort of trying to do it in a nice way that feels nice and sticks with the style of Hellblade. So one shot, nothing jarring. And like I said, we've got a few of these throughout the game, but that's just one example of them.
My settlement.
In pain.
I led my people here. Promised them a new life.
Called this home.
An escape from the madness and misery across the sea. For some time we were happy.
Like us. We were happy. Until him.
Well, then the volcano and the darkness.
So, Red Hills or Raudhula? I'm saying that right. It's a strange place, isn't it? Because it's so close to Reykjavik that you can basically, it's surrounded by roads, and then you've got like an industrial estate over the back there.
Yeah, an awful lot of warehouses here.
Yeah, we spent a few days there, didn't we, capturing everything we like the look of. And it was sort of a place where we sort of, some of us did photogrammetry for the first time, or were practicing it in the field for the first time, and starting to, well, hopefully get good at it. I think the results when we got home were quite nice in the end.
This is a good example of how we've had to take the area and kind of expand it a lot. Fortunately, a lot of the formations and rocks around there kind of lent itself to kind of that you can get a lot of variation out of it.
Yeah, definitely. I think certainly when I was there, it was probably one really, really productive afternoon, actually. I think I captured probably 12 to 14 rock sets. And yeah, it's from that we ended up sort of getting a good chunk of stuff that, of really high detail close-up rock sections that we could use again and again throughout.
One of the things, though, in this earlier section with Fargrim's village was that we really had to tear it apart and show that Iltalga had devastated this village. Just show her powerful, spiteful nature. So that's something we didn't necessarily have that initially. We'd created this area, and it was a little bit later we thought, we really want to gouge big holes out of the ground and really destroy everything, make it super clear just how powerful she was and, what you're coming up against here as you play.
It's a really good example of the amount of iteration that can go into some levels as well. I know
Definitely.
This went through an awful lot of transformations over a lot of different milestones.
I can't remember how many versions of this level there were. There's absolute tons, wasn't there? And certainly, I think I joined on the second half of this level, so from the hilltop downwards, I guess. And that section, I think, when I got to it, we just ripped it out and started again. Which was cool, it's got to be right, So whatever version you end up doing of it, that comes out in the final game, I think it's it just goes through so much change throughout the whole process.
The chase coming up here is another one of those things where we iterated upon it so often. We had so many versions of it over the course of about a year, and actually what we ended up with it came in quite late, really. It was there's a real collaboration between environment art and design and VFX. We had quite a small team, really, all working together really closely to try and drive this scene forward and make it work.
You went through quite a lot of iteration on the concepts for Iltalga, didn't you? Just trying to get that right.
Yeah, there was a lot of back and forth because we had that idea with the contortion, the pain and suffering, and how that comes through body, like the cracking and the kind of the feel of that anger and pain. So we thought that would be a good fit for her movement, which you don't see yet. But when you finally get that reveal, it makes it even creepier and weirder to see her like that.
I think one of the things you did best there was retaining the humanity, like especially in the eyes. You can see the pain and the suffering, and Senua can make that connection, and the player can make that connection that there is a real kind of human presence behind the monstrous.
Yeah, that's super important to have that. Just like some of the first things we can even get is like something audio, something from the audio. In this case, that was one of the first things, having that scream and like then seeing that pain on her face and like putting that through character. Because a scream is so full bodying. It kind of comes right from the stomach and up and through. So if you can imagine that, it's like we wanted that all the way through body. It's just like anguish. And then you put like fire involved with that. It's pretty painful, so you're getting that through there as well. two things. She kind of always was. She's gone through different ages, like getting her age right. Because she had the baby, and it's like, how old was she going to be? Sometimes they had children quite young. So it was like, we wanted her quite young, then we went a bit older, and then kind of... So there's a lot of back and forth, and then we got Claudia, who did the contortion performance capture. And then she sat about right, so we used her in there. But yeah, it's always been like the essence was always there, but then trying to find something that made sense was really difficult because she's in a volcanic environment, she's been burnt, so it's like, what clothes is she going to have? Well, she's not going to have a dress on and a hat, you know what I mean? Because she's pretty burnt up, so it's like getting these considerations, and like, so it's trying to bring some sort of meaning to it, like what side did she finally die on, like what side did she rest on, and I kind of had that in mind. So one side of her is kind of really gone, like really like broken down to the bone, and the other side there's a bit more flesh on there. So it's like, again, what you said, keeping that humanity, that bit of something resembling human that you can relate to while still having the monster, and adding the narrative bits on how it might have happened. It's a lot to balance, but yeah.
Actually, Lara had one question.
Yeah.
When Iltaga comes up, for a few seconds she says we're monsters.
Yeah.
Did she meant herself and Senua, or herself and other giants?
What she means is Senua and herself. Because it's a sense that, because, Iltaga is linked to Senua in that way, in that Senua can see herself as a monster because for a long time, she thought she bore this curse that she was dangerous to people. So there is that very strong sense of a shared monstrosity between them. And that's why Senua can empathize so well with Iltaga, linking herself to Senua in that moment.
And then what she later does with Godi and stuff like that, is she a monster?
Yeah.
Or is she not? That's the ultimate thing, isn't it? The decision.
Nothing is impossible.
No, there is no way.
He is right. We cannot kill the giant.
The gods cannot be killed.
You can't. You deserve this.
Why did you come here, Senua? To stop the slavers.
You thought you were helping them.
And now you are stranded. Stay. You can't stop them. You can't kill the giant. You can't stop them.
I will kill the giant.
I think the kind of genesis for this level was we wanted to connect this notion that Senua is, because of her past, because of the events in the first game with her father, she's kind of uniquely situated to be able to challenge the notion that the giants can't be killed. And we wanted the birch ritual kind of connects the past with the present. So she goes into the birch ritual thinking, I've killed a god before. I think I can kill the giants. And then her self-doubt and her guilt in the form of the shadow come back to remind her that no, she can't do this. So I think for me, the birch ritual is the process of Senua remembering how she challenged that authorial voice of kind of religious authoritarianism and stood up against it and broke through it, and how that's what she needs to do again. She needs to show people that this lie about the giants can't be defeated is the same kind of lie as you have to appease the gods. And famously in the first game, Senua says, "Fuck the gods." And I think this is her drawing that line from there to a point where she can say, fuck the giants. Or at least find a different way of defeating the giants. But so we really lent heavily on the shadow and the absolutely amazing Stephen Hartley, who was the voice for this, just to build up that link to the past. So you'll see Senua basically being told that she's worthless, told that she's nothing, told that she can't do anything, and it's her challenging that. And we, through the design team, did an amazing job of taking that idea and then crafting a level where essentially you need to turn away from your father's voice and find the right path of your own choosing.
It is not so easy to banish me, child.
You can't beat me down anymore.
You will never find your way through this nightmare. You're always blinded by your madness, your curse. You will never save them. You can't even save Gods cannot be destroyed. Seek their favor.
I think visually how we chose to represent that as well was the light and the shattering. It's like you're shattering the lies and sort of finding the path that sort of takes you away from that. Initially we had no combat in this level as well, but it just felt as though it was lacking something. So I think visually how we chose to represent that as well was the light and the shattering. It's like you're shattering the lies and sort of finding the path that sort of takes you away from that. Initially we had no combat in this level as well, but it just felt as though it was lacking something. So we added a couple of the sort of shatter enemies into this, because it's sort of very in keeping with the themes. You'll notice as well, if you walk right up to the shatter blockers, you see different parts of Senua reflected in them. Just a little kind of nod back to it's her own internal struggle that she's sort of fighting through. So objectively, yeah, this is something she's kind of thinking about. It's a very internal kind of moment that she's going through. So yeah, it's the sort of the shadow combined with sort of her memories of Zimble a bit, isn't it?
Yeah, I think to me the shadow is sending these enemies out to remind her that she can't succeed, she can't win, and she really has to find the strength to do that. And by the end of the section, she comes away with a real sense of purpose and resolution that, you know, she does have the agency to continue her fight. She does have what it takes to find a way to defeat the giants and move on.
Who is the physical figure of the shadow that we see? Is that an actual character? that we created?
Yeah, it is a character. He's such a kind of construction of Senua's past that he doesn't really have any agency apart from as that reminder of her father, of the shadow that hangs over her. So he really only comes to her in very dark moments, and he's always that reminder of her failings and her faults and weaknesses.
Yeah, you obviously see him kind of in chapter 2, before the Dillian scene. You also see him at the start of chapter 1 at the top of the climb, when she's obviously doubting why she's even come to this place. So yeah, it's that representation. One of the things with the hooded figure was we didn't want to do another 3 lateral scan. We didn't want to do a full character model. So, we wanted just this almost faceless hooded presence, which actually I think works much better for the concept of the shadow. You don't want a kind of real rendered face in there that you can kind of attach a different meaning to. It works better as being faceless.
You will never find your way through this nightmare.
You can't hurt me.
You will submit to me, or you will die.
I won't let you stop me.
You will never find your way through this nightmare.
He really only comes to her in very dark moments, and he's always that reminder of her failings and her faults and weaknesses.
Yeah, you obviously see him kind of in chapter 2, before the Dillian scene. You also see him at the start of chapter 1 at the top of the climb, when she's obviously doubting why she's even come to this place. So yeah, it's that representation. One of the things with the hooded figure was we didn't want to do another 3 lateral scan. We didn't want to do a full character model. So, we wanted just this almost faceless, hooded presence, which actually I think works much better for the concept of the shadow. You don't want a kind of real rendered face in there that you can kind of attach a different meaning to. It works better as being faceless.
So is the hooded figure Senua's father?
In a way. This is not for me to say, but it's, to me, it's the version of her father that she's taken away with her and taken on the road, basically. Our construction of a version of her father that she's carried with her. Yeah, and of course, the kind of the scene at the end of the ritual is a callback to the sacrifice of Senua's mother, but instead of Galena, we see Senua there, and this is really we had a lot. I'm not going to say fun with this, but it was a moment for Mel to really give everything she's got, just in that determination. Like, I love the kind of icy calmness that she resolves this scene on. I think she did a spectacular job. We've gone from that kind of overwhelming agony to this very cold, very determined, very purposeful Senua. And yeah, I think that side of her is something that we really brought out in Saga.
You may have noticed this was a scene we used for one of our GDC tech demos as well, when we were working with Epic and 3 Lateral to test out the facial technology.
I just think it's amazing that actors can be in a completely empty room. And in this scene, Mel was, I think, had her hands behind a pole, like a scaffolding pole.
Yeah.
And she's just emoting so much with really nothing to go on.
Yeah, incredible.
The transition from the birch ritual back out to the top of the hill was one of the first transitions we did, actually, and it was quite successful. Actually, it was pretty seamless, and it kind of gave us the confidence that we could do more of these really nice blends from one environment to another. We actually teleport the character at that point, so we basically dial down all the lighting and get it sort of the same in both scenes, teleport her out, restream in the previous level, and sort of fade everything back up. Which we did quite a few times across the game in the end, which sort of really keeps that immersion and that ongoing story.
I remember the bug. That it wasn't really dark enough, and you could see the switch. The world is switching, but we had to make it really dark for the player to not see it.
Yeah. We make our lives hard by not allowing camera cuts.
Did you talk about why Thorgesta saves Senua from Miltoga?
No, I don't think so.
No. Why?
Would you like to know? Would you like to know why? It's just because Fargrimr reminded him earlier. Like he said, have a thought as to who the real enemy is, and I think that kind of plays on Thorgesta's mind. And it's never quite sat right with him that they are sacrificing enslaved people when they're like big, strong, tough Vikings, and they should be able to sort situations out themselves. So it's never sat right with him, as the conversation on top of the hill kind of brings out. But I think in that moment when he sees this giant menacing another human, he's just moved by that feeling of, I should step in, because clearly that is the real enemy and not the person that is being menaced. So he actually does his first good thing.
Yeah, it's a turning point in a way for that character, isn't it?
Yeah. I think Chris did a great job with that scene, as well everyone did, but like just showing that the sort of like awareness, I guess, that it's not right. I think he did a great job with that. And the disgust and fury on Mel's face is brilliant as well.
Where can I find them?
They will give us what we seek.
There's a rock close to here where they are said to live. Its entrance is hidden. You might find it.
She will find it.
They want you to. You will.
I will find it.
We might die down there.
No.
We could die trying to find them.
They will give us what we seek.
They are dangerous.
But they will help us. We will make them.
Make them. They know things.
I remember when we went to the Red Hills, it was to record a lot of the winds. And I remember that it was not so good, actually, because they were by a highway. Do you remember? Like,
yeah,
they were actually by a highway. We couldn't use it, and we had to use from other parts of the Iceland to recreate this environment.
And on that day, it was actually really good weather, which was quite out of season. In a way, we were lucky because the weather was great, but we kind of went to get things like rain and wind, but it was like unseasonably sunny. We actually, I think most of the good wind that we got was from Borgarverki, which was later in the trip, which is eventually where Senua goes to meet the Gothi. But because of the rocky formations, you get some really nice wind sounds.
It's crazy though that even if you go to Iceland, which is one of the less densely populated areas in the world, and it's supposed to be pure nature, you cannot get rid of the sound of the cars.
No.
Like, you will always have cars somewhere.
And the highway was not even like so close, but I mean, like it was close enough to hear the constant car buys, you know?
Constant rumble.
And we were like, you know, like just, okay, we cannot record here. Because I remember Daniele and David, all the members of the team that went previously to Iceland, they had way worse conditions. And we were having kind of like a bubble weather condition there, like
for the Iceland standards.
For Iceland lifestyle, like we had 5 days straight sun, you know.
It was freakish for Iceland.
Yeah.
Even our tour guide was telling us like this is super weird.
Yeah.
Only she can set them free.